Databricks Lakeflow is a declarative data ingestion framework that enables seamless, incremental, and schema-aware data movement from operational databases like SQL Server into Delta Table using built-in connectors that support change tracking, change data capture, and automatic schema evolution. My name is Abiola David, and I'm a Databricks MVP. In this end-to-end data engineering video, I'm going to practically walk you through how to efficiently and seamlessly ingest data from SQL Server using Databricks Lakeflow Connect. If you're new to this channel, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and toggle on the bell icon to be notified of new videos. Let's jump into the solution. This is my Databricks workspace. Now, the first phase of this solution is going to take place in Azure SQL. So I'm going to swipe to this tab, and this is my portal.azure.com. I'm going to quickly navigate to this Cornerstone Server SQL Server tab. I'm going to give that a click. For now, I don't have any database. So the step number one is to create an Azure SQL database. So I'm going to click on create database, and this is going to automatically populate the subscription as well as the resource group. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom a little bit, and under the database details, I'm going to give this a name. Let me call this one cornerstone_db, and this is available for me to use. And of course, this is going to be stored in this server that is cornerstone-server, which is provisioned in the UK South region. That's all I need to do for now. I'm going to click on Review plus Create, and I can see all the details, including the basics, the networking, security, and so on. And I'm going to click on Create the SQL database. So this is going to be submitted for deployment, and in about 1 minute or less, the SQL database will be provisioned. The deployment succeeded. I'm going to click on Go to Resource, and then we can see the cornerstone_db SQL database created, which is really cool. Now I'm going to come to the query editor, and then I can use the Microsoft Entra authentication to authenticate and access the SQL editor. So click on this. So when I click on the tables, we have no tables. And that's going to lead us to the step number 2, which is to create our facts and dimension tables, which must contain primary keys across all the table. Now, because it's going to be quite difficult to do all of that within this query editor, I'm going to navigate to my SQL Server Management Studio. So I'm going to log out from my on-premise, and then I want to connect to my database engine, and then for the server name, I want to connect using my Azure SQL server name. So I'm going to swipe back, and I can come to this overview, click on OK, and I want to copy this server name, and that is copied into the clipboard, and I'm going to come back here and I'm going to paste. So for the authentication, I'm going to use the SQL Server authentication, and I need the login that says the server admin and of course the password. To get that, I'm going to come back here to the browser, and I'm going to click on this cornerstone server.database.windows.net, and it's going to lead me to the SQL Server part, and this is the server admin, the same thing as the login or the username. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to get rid of this and paste. And then for the password, I'm going to type in the password in there. Now, if I want the password to be remembered, I'm going to click on Remember Password. And of course, I just take this Trust Server certificates, and I'm going to click on Connect. So I'm able to successfully connect to the Azure SQL database using the SSMS. And I'm going to click on this to expand the databases, and then we can see the newly created cornerstone_db database. And when I expand and I go to the tables, we don't have table. Now we want to go to the step number 2, which is to create our fact and dimension tables, as I've said, which must contain the primary keys across all the tables. So for that, I'm going to click on this new query, and I want to make sure that I switch from the master database to the cornerstone_db database, because we're going to be creating all of this table and inserting all the records within this database. Now, to create our table, I'm going to paste all this create table statement. So I'm going to scroll up a little bit. First, we want to create the dim customer table, and this contains the customer ID, customer name, customer email, phone, customer address, and the region with the appropriate data types. Now, you will notice that the customer ID do contain the primary key, and of course, we have the product table, the dimension table, and then we have the list of the columns. And of course, this also includes the primary key for the product ID. And then we're also creating the payment type dimension table, and we're going to have the dim account manager similar to the sales rep. And we're going to create this calendar table. And coming to the fact table, we have the sales ID, date ID, customer ID, product ID, payment type ID, manager ID, and then we have the quantity and of course the total amount. So these are all the foreign keys, and then we have the corresponding primary keys in the dimension table. So I'm going to select the old code and hit the execute, and this is going to create all the tables. Excellent. I'm going to come to the cornerstone underscore DB, and I'm going to right click, and then I can refresh the database, and I'm going to expand the tables, and you can see all the 6 or 7 tables: the account manager, calendar, customer, the payment type, product, and the F sales table. That's the end of the step number 2. Now in step number 3, we're going to insert records into the fact and the dimension tables we just created. And for that, I'm going to launch a new query. And of course, this is also connected to the cornerstone underscore DB database. And I'm going to paste the insert statement. And let's just go through it a little bit. So basically, we are inserting all these 20 records into the D customer dimension table, and then we are inserting this record into the D product dimension table, and then we have for the D payment, the account manager, the calendar, and finally, for now, we have the fact sales table. So I'm going to select the whole thing, press Ctrl A to select, and I can hit the execute. I'm just going to insert all the records into the respective tables. So in this case, we can see 20 rows is affected in the first table, 20 rows, 3 rows, 10 rows, 50 rows, and then 50 rows in the F sales table. Now, I'm just going to scroll up a little bit, and let's just query the F sales table so that we can see all the data. So I'm going to write a simple select star from F sales, and I'm going to put in a semicolon, and I can select the query and execute, and there we go. We have all the records giving us 50 rows. Now we want to move to step number 4, which is to enable change tracking on the source database, which allows Databricks Lakeflow to maintain specified retention window for change metadata, which would ensure that even if ingestion gateway is temporarily offline, data changes can still be captured without requiring full refresh. So to do that, I'm going to open a new query, and I'm going to paste in there. So basically, we're performing alter database, and I'm going to provide a name of database, which in this case is cornerstone underscore DB. So I can get rid of this Lakeflow and type in cornerstone underscore DB, and we are setting this database to change tracking equal to on, and then for the change retention period is going to be for 14 days, and after the 14 days we have the auto cleanup on, so this is going to be cleaned up automatically after the end of the retention date. So I'm going to select this code and just hit the execute to enable change tracking on the cornerstone underscore DB database. After doing that, we're going to move to step number 5, which is to enable change tracking on all the source tables, which would allow Databricks Lakeflow to detect and extract row level changes such as inserts, update, and delete based on primary keys, which enable efficient incremental data ingestion without scanning the entire tables. So for that, I'm going to use this code. So basically, we have all the tables such as the D customer, the account manager, the calendar, the payment type, the product, and the F sales table. So all of them are stored in the DBO schema, and then we are performing this alter table, and I'm going to provide the name of the schema and then the name of the table. So we are enabling change tracking. So this has to be done on each of the tables. So I'm going to select all of these and click on execute. And then we can see commands completed successfully. Now we're going to move to step number 6, which is to enable change data capture on the source database, which allows Databricks Lakeflow to retain change metadata during gateway downtime, which ensures reliability of incremental ingestion without requiring a full data reload. So for that, I'm going to use this code. So basically we have the exec sys.sp underscore CDC underscore enable underscore DB. Now, in Azure SQL Database, we don't need to explicitly provide the name of the database. I'm going to run this enable change data capture on the source database and click on execute. And this command completed successfully. So we want to move to step number 7, which is to enable change data capture on, again, all the source tables, which would allow Databricks Lakeflow to track and stream row-level changes such as insert, update, and delete into Delta tables for accurate and efficient ingestion. So for that, I'm going to use this code. So first, we want to enable the CDC on the F sales table. So basically we have this exec sys.sp underscore CDC enable table, and then we have this parameter which is the source schema. So this is the DBO, and then for the source name, this is the name of the table, and then for the row we are setting this to null. So this is how we're going to do it for each of the tables that we want to enable CDC on. So this is for the F sales. So when I come to the bottom, I can see this is for the D calendar table, and then we have the same thing for the D product, and then we can see for the D account manager, the D payment type, and the D customer. So I'm going to select this CDC enabling on each of the tables, and I'm going to click on execute. Amazing. So this succeeded. Now we're going to move to step number 8, which is to download the data definition language support object underscore SQL script and execute on top of the source database. And the script is going to create necessary database objects that capture DDL changes like schema updates or new table. With this script, Lakeflow can automatically evolve destination schemas during ingestion time. So to get that, I'm going to swipe to my browser, and I'm going to come to the documentation. So this is the part, setup, data definition language, capture, and schema evolution. So you need to download this DDL underscore support underscore objects.SQL script. So I have it downloaded on my downloads. So I'm going to go to my downloads, and I can see that here. So I'm going to give this a click. So once I click on that, it's going to automatically launch within the SSMS on a different query. So now we don't really need to go through all of it because there's a lot of information in here, and we don't even need to change anything. But if you have time, you can just go through them. But you can see we have quite a lot of code which is actually working. I've tested it again and again. So all you need to do is just select the code, and then I can click on execute, and this is now executed. We are done with the Azure SQL database for now. So I'm going to move to the Databricks side. So I'm going to come to my browser, and I can see this is my Databricks workspace. So for the step number 9, we're going to enable Lakeflow Connect for SQL Server for previews. To do that, I'm going to come to at the top right hand corner, and I'm going to click on previews, and then I'm going to search for SQL Server. So this should have been flagged to you. So this is going to be off by default, so you need to toggle this on. So in this case, I've toggled it on, and once you do this for the first time, you need to refresh your URL in order to be able to see that in the data ingestion tab. So this has been enabled for me. Now I could have included another step, which is to create your Unity catalog and schema. So I've done that already, and I believe you probably know how to do that. So I'm going to come to my catalog, and then I've created this Lakeflow underscore UC catalog, and I've got this landing zone schema. So this is where all the data is going to be landing in volumes, and then we have the delta tables. So we're going to move to the step number 10, which is to implement the ingestion using the SQL Server Lakeflow Connect, providing all our details. So I'm going to click on data ingestion, and once you've enabled the SQL Server Lakeflow Connect, you should be able to see this SQL Server index. So I'm going to give this a click. It is currently in preview. So the first thing is to set up our ingestion gateway. So we can see we have to create an ingestion gateway to extract data from the source, designate a staging volume to temporarily store the data before it's written to the final destination. So you can actually read more about the gateway, but for now, I'm just going to give the gateway a name. I'm going to call this one my data gateway, and once I'm done, I'm going to choose the location for staging the ingestion data. So click on this. This is going to be within my Lakeflow underscore UC catalog, and of course I'm going to use the schema I created, which is the landing zone. This is going to automatically give you the details of the ingestion gateway. We have the gateway name, and then we have the staging location, which is the name of the catalog, and of course the name of the schema, which is the same thing as the name of the database. So I'm going to click on next. Now for the step number 2, we have the ingestion setup. We have to provide the credential to connect to the source and create an ingestion pipeline that moves data from the source to the destination. I'm going to call this on my pipeline. You can use whatever name you like. And then for the event log creation or location, we can see this. The event log contains audit logs, data quality checks, pipeline progress, and errors. So this is going to be within the same Lakeflow underscore UC catalog, and then it's going to be within the same landing zone. And then we need to establish connection to the source. So I've done this before. I'm going to click on this kebab and then delete, because I want to show you the whole thing. So this is what you're going to see if you have not done this before. So you are asked to create connection. So I'm going to click on create connection, and we need to provide a name for the connection. I'm going to call this one my Azure SQL connection. You can use whatever name you like, and then we need the name of the host. To get that, I'm going to come here, and I can quickly go back to the home tab. I can go to the Cornerstone DB, and I can see the server name, which is the same thing as the host. This must end with .database.windows.net. So I'm going to copy that into the clipboard, and I'm going to paste in the host. So this aligns with the example given to us. So you can see the first is the name of the database, followed by the database.windows.net, and I'm going to provide the name of the username. So for the username, I'm going to come back here. So you need to just click on this again, and it's going to take you to the SQL Server part. So the server admin is the same thing as your username. So I'm going to copy that. Of course, this is already populated because I've done this again, but you can always paste again, and then you need to provide your password. Of course, this is actually correct for me, and the port is 1433. You don't have to change anything. It's a default port. So I'm going to click on create connection. So connection creation successful, and then we move to the next part, which is to create our pipelines and continue. So I'm going to give this a click, and we can say ingestion gateway created, ingestion pipeline created, and then we move to the gateway starting. So we have this waiting for gateway compute resources. So this is going to take some couple of minutes, sometimes about 5 minutes. I've tested it about 3 times. So we have to wait, and once this is done, we can move to the next step, which is the destination. So we can see for now we have the ingestion gateway is analyzing the structure of your database, which might take some few time. So I'm going to just pause this video. This took roughly 8 minutes in order to get to this next stage. Now this is not too bad, but it can actually get better, and I hope it shouldn't take more than 3 minutes at most going into the future. So we are able to successfully connect to the SQL Server data, and I can see the name of the database, Cornerstone underscore DB. Now I'm going to click on this chevron. I can see all the tables, the data account manager, the calendar, customer, payment type, product, and the fact sales. Now, because we want to actually bring all the tables, I'm going to click on this, and this are now selected as the schema DBO, and I'm going to click on next. And then we move to the step number 4, which is the destination. So basically, since we've actually chosen the landing zone as our database, or in this case schema, so this is within the Lakeflow UC catalog. So this is fine. I'm going to click on save and continue, and you can see ingestion pipeline is saved. And once that is resolved, we can move to the final stage for this ingest data from SQL Server. All right, so we move to the final step number 5, which is the settings. So we're asked to configure pipeline schedules and notifications. So for the schedule, of course, we can create a schedule, and then we have this my pipeline job running every 1 hour. I can click on this kebab, and I can actually click on this to edit, and then I can edit the schedule. So I can give this a name, but this is fine. So for the schedule time, it's going to run every 1 hour. I can do maybe every day, every week. We can also go to the advanced tab, and then we can even do maybe every minute, and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to click on this, and then we can do minute, hour. So let's say we want to run this job every, let's just say every 5 minutes. I can just choose that in it, and I'm going to maintain this time zone, which is actually where I'm located in London. And once I'm done, I'm going to click on save. So this is now updated, and I can click on save and run pipeline. Now, before I do that, if this pipeline failed, on failure, I'm going to get an email notification here. I can even do on success. That is absolutely fine. So I can click on save and run pipeline. So ingestion pipeline is saved, and then we can see this familiar jobs and pipeline page. So basically, this is going to start creating the update, and they're going to wait for the resources to come up, and then the initializing will start, and then we have the setting up of the tables and rendering the graph. So this is going to take maybe less than 5 minutes. If there's any errors, we're going to see. So the creating update is sorted with the screen check mark, and then we can see waiting for the resources. So I'm just going to hold on for some moments, and once everything is actually going as expected, we can move to the next step. Amazing, the pipeline succeeded. So we can see the temporary volume, which is actually taking care of the snapshot of all the data, and we can see the D account manager with the green check mark, the D calendar, D customer, D payment type, and so on to the fact sales table. Now I can come here, I can see we have the data written, and then we have the update. We have 10 records in the account manager, 50 records in the calendar, 20 records in the customer, 3 records in the payment type, and then 20, 50 in the big product and F sales respectively. So when you look at the delete, we have no deleted in record. That is absolutely cool. Now, I'm just going to quickly come to my email notification, and don't forget we specify that if this succeed or fail, we should get a notification. So we can see the email notification that's just coming in, which is really cool. Now I'm going to swipe back in it, and I can click on the graph. So when I click on the graph, I can click on this to see it more broadly. So basically, we have the streaming tables, and then we have all the dimension tables for the D calendar, and so on and so forth, and which is really cool. So this is the fact sales. We can see the number of record, 50 records, and then this the product 20, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to quickly come to my catalog, and I can come to the Lakeflow UC, and I'm going to go to the landing zone. I'm going to expand, and then we can see we have the 6 tables. I can see all of them listed here, and then we have the volume, so which is the temporary landing zone where our data is actually landing. So before I go to the tables, I'm going to click on this, and when I click on that, under the overview, we can see the description, we can see the folder that was created automatically, but I'm going to come to the files. in the files, we have again the same folder. And when I click on that, we can go to the snapshots. Now, in the snapshot, we're going to see the cornerstone underscore DB, and we can see the samples. So when I click on that, I can see the default schema. And then when I click on that, I'm going to see all the tables, the DIM account manager, and then we can see the reference, and it's going to be displayed in .parquet. So when I click on this, of course, this is going to be in a non-readable format. So I'm going to just click on that to close, and I can go back. And then we have other metadata. When I click on this, we have the CDC, and then we can see the snapshot, the table schemas, and then we have the database underscore metadata.yaml file, and then we have the CDC token and so on. So we can actually go through all of these and check them out. So when I come to the details tab, we can see the resource name, the volume type as managed, and then we have the study location, volume ID, created, and so on and so forth. Now let's go ahead and check the tables. Let's just see the fact sales table. When I click on that, I can see the overview and the list of the column names and the appropriate data types. And then when I click on the sample data, I can just connect to my SQL warehouse or cluster. I'm going to click on start and close. I'm just going to start, and I'm going to just wait for some couple of seconds, and then I should be able to see the data in the F sales fact table. Amazing. So we have the sales ID, date ID, the foreign keys for the customer ID, products, payment type, manager, and when I scroll to the right, we can see the quantity column and of course the total sales. So let's see the product table. For example, click on the sample data, and when I check the columns, we have the primary keys, which are the products, and then we have the product name, subcategory, product category, and then we have the price. So this is actually cool. Now we want to move to the step number 11, which is to update, delete, and insert records in the source tables in Azure SQL Database. So I'm going to swipe back to my SSMS, and I can create a new query so that we don't get everything complicated. And I'm going to use this code. So now, before I execute this delete, update, and insert records into these three tables, basically we want to focus on the D product. We want to perform a deletion by deleting these two products from this table, and then we want to update the D payment table, the payment type. We want to set the payment type column equal to cash, where the payment type column is equal to PayPal. Now, before I do all of this, I'm going to quickly again come back to the SQL and the Databricks, and I'm going to come to this tab. All right. So I prepared the code in order to just simplify the whole thing. So basically, we are selecting all the tables from the Lakeflow, and then the landing zone schema, and then the D product. So I'm going to just run this first. So as soon as that is executed, we can see we have these two products. I want to focus on this laptop A and mouse B, two products. So basically, I want to perform a deletion so that we can see how the CDC is actually capturing all these data changes. So I'm going to come back to my SSMS, and then you can see I'm deleting this. So delete from this product table where product name is in laptop A, mouse B, and I'm going to click on this to execute. So these two rows are not affected, and I'm going to come back here again. Let me just come back here, and I want to switch back. So that's been deleted. Of course, this is not going to automatically take effect until the pipeline executes in the next run. I'm going to quickly come to this, come to the D payment. So basically, we want to see all the D payment type. So we want to change this PayPal to cash payment method. So for that, I'm going to come back here, and this is what the update will perform. So we are updating the D payment type, setting the payment type method to cash, where the payment type column is equal to PayPal. So that is done in the source. And then coming back finally, basically this side, we just want to query all this table fact sales where the year is equal to 2024. I'm going to click on this to run, and this executed. Now, when I change this to 2025, because we don't have 2025, this is going to return nothing. So we have no rows returned. So when I come back to the source, I want to just insert this record for 2025, just 4 of them, into the F sales table. Click on this to execute. 4 rows are now inserted. And when I come back to my browser, so I'm just going to go to the jobs pipelines. So when I go to that, something failed. I'm not sure why this failed. All right, so I'm going to just click on the my pipeline. All right, and I can just click on this, start. Or let me just let me move this back to the list, and I can click on the start. Of course, we've scheduled this, but let me just trigger the whole thing. Again, this is going to perform all the steps: creating, update, waiting for resources, initializing, setting up tables, render graph. So once all of these are now sorted, that simply means that all our changes from the source, that is the delete, the update, and the insertion of records that is written, will automatically be visible the next time we query our table. So we can see this is almost done, and we're going to see all the record, what has changed, the capture in this side. So you can see 7 things has been done. All right. So I'm just going to wait for all of it to turn to green. And once it turns to green, we can move to the next step. All right. So we can see we perform an update on the payment type, and this is now recorded. So this is actually working. And then we perform to delete operation on the D product. So this is now recorded, and then we inserted 4 records into the F sales table, which is recorded. So I'm going to come back to the SQL. So come back to the SQL editor, or let me just use this. Okay, let me use the same. So what I'm going to do first is to run this select star from the deep product table. So when I click on that, we will not be able to see the link that is laptop A and mouse B. So you can see that's gone. So this is actually starting from product ID 103 because we've deleted product ID 101 and 102. Cool. And then when I just run this select star on the deep payment type, we are not going to see the payment, the PayPal. Now we can see cash because we've actually performed an update to replace the PayPal with cash in this table of this payment method column. Excellent. Now, because we don't have 2015 before, when I run this, we are going to see the 4 records we inserted. Absolutely fantastic. So these are the 4 records that we inserted here. So this is how we can architect this solution. Now, before we wrap up, I'm going to quickly just go to the jobs and pipelines. And because we've actually, perform the scheduling, so everything's going to be working as expected. So we can see the gateway is actually picking up the changes. It's picking up what is happening in the source database and the schemas, and even if there's a downtime because of what we've implemented in the solution, the changes, the new data will automatically be captured. Now I can click on this my pipeline for now, and we can also see what's going on here. I think there was a failure on this side. Let's see the failure. Pipeline updates, or okay, update already in progress, and we can see this succeeded. This specific run succeeded. And before we wrap up, we can just come back to the my data gateway. So this is going to be running all of this, creating, updating, and so on and so forth. So when you look at all the runs, we discover that everything's actually okay, no errors, and these are the event logs. And then when you come to the query history, you can probably see in all the queries that we've executed. So this is how we can architect this Databricks Lakeflow Connect to ingest and write data into Unity catalog in Databricks. I trust you enjoyed this video. If you do, like, comment, share, and follow me for more videos. I'm going to make this script or this code I use available in this video, so you can use them and play around with them. So thank you so much for joining, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye bye for now.